What's up, guys? D-Rock1992 here. For this next video, I'm going to be reviewing the movie Admission. Admission is a movie that came out last year. The two main stars in this film are Tina Fey and Paul Rudd. Another Tina Fey film I'm reviewing. Tina Fey is one of my favorite actresses slash comedians of all time. Saturday Night Live, 30 Rock, everything she's done speaks for itself. She's just that talented. Paul Rudd, king of romantic comedies. I definitely consider him to be that. I just did a couple of films that had him in them that I reviewed. This is 40 and Knocked Up. And so they're the two main characters. A supporting character in this movie is Wallace Shawn, who may better be known as that thief in The Princess Bride from the 80s who said the word inconceivable. He is best known for that, probably, that movie. Not really a whole lot of other big names to tell you about. Admission got a 38% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. A little bit of information there. And without further ado, I will get into the plot. There's this admissions officer. Her name's Portia, played by Tina Fey. And she's an admissions officer for Princeton University. And she oversees thousands of applicants and basically judges if they're eligible to get into Princeton. And there are very many people that do not get accepted to Princeton, only a select few. This school requires you have a lot of things to get in. A lot of academics and things like that. So she's competing for the head spot. The head admissions officer, Wallace Shawn's character, is retiring, and another woman who is the rival of Portia is competing for this spot as well. So they're both competing. One day she gets a call from... One day she goes to this high school, this alternative high school, headed by this teacher, played by Paul Rudd, who was actually a former classmate of Portia's. And he's like, remember me? I was your classmate in Dartmouth, I think it was, that they said. So they meet up, and he eventually tells her that he thinks that he knows that she has a son that she gave up for adoption a few years ago. And Portia at first is unaccepting of that. She doesn't want to believe it. She doesn't want to believe him. He comes over to her house and kind of kisses her and all that, and she resists. And Portia's mother, who is... I don't know what to describe the mom as. She's weird, for sure. The mom is, brandishing a rifle at him, telling him to get out, and he does. And, Portia doesn't really want to believe this, that she has her own son. She has a career ahead of her. She's applying for that head admissions officer spot. And so, yeah, she refuses to believe it. But then she actually meets the person who Paul Rudd's character thinks is her son. And this kid is very intelligent. He's a very bright, intelligent young man. The only thing is, in high school, he got D's and F's because he just didn't apply himself well enough. But he took the SATs, and he got perfect scores on like 5 of the categories. So when Portia accepts that the son is actually her son. She goes to great lengths to try to get him into Princeton, kind of ignoring her own personal beliefs and values and the beliefs and values of those of Princeton to try to get him in. So they're at this meeting for him, the son, and pretty much a couple of people vote yes on getting him into Princeton, but the majority of the people say no because he just doesn't have enough qualifications. His academic record is spotty. D's and F's in high school, just not the best academic student there. A bad academic student. So they don't accept him. They understand that Portia is really advocating for him, and they say no. And Portia goes to great lengths to try to get him in again by switching him with another guy who they discovered is going to go to Yale instead of Princeton. So she breaks the law, basically. She breaks the rules by taking him out of the Princeton list and putting her son in. And so the head guy, Wallace Shawn's character, discovers this, and he calls Portia into his office for a meeting. He's very angry that she did this. She forces her to resign, or she fires her. He fires her, basically, but doesn't take the son out because they doesn't take the son out of the running for Princeton. Doesn't remove the son from Princeton because they don't want a major scandal going on, basically, with that. So they let him stay in Princeton, but they fire Portia. And so then the son confronts her afterwards. They talk to each other, and the son says, you got me in even though I didn't deserve it. I didn't get in because of my own achievements. I got in because you let me in, basically. That whole thing. Portia finally admits that the son didn't know throughout the film, basically, that Portia was the supposed mother. And Paul Rudd's character kept it secret as well. So Portia reveals that she thinks that she is his mother. And the guy said, the son says, no, you're not my mother. I met my mother a year ago. And so it's proven to be right that, in fact, Portia is not the mother, that there was a mix-up. She gets very angry at Paul Rudd's character for deceiving her, apparently trying to deceive her. And Paul Rudd's character, they establish a nice relationship in the whole film, basically. Portia is good to his son, basically, his adopted son, who also goes to that high school, the alternative high school. And basically, Paul Rudd's character tries to apologize. Portia eventually forgives him. And then Portia tries to find her real son. So she goes to an adoption office, and they try to help her out with it. She gives this bizarre speech that kind of wins over the adoption agency, and they decide to look for her. And she gets a letter in the mail from her son that says, I'm excited at the opportunity, He says, the son says basically in the letter that he doesn't want to meet his mom at this time. And it kind of makes a comparison. Like the fact that Portia basically left a lot of people waiting for Princeton, was the decider in the admission process at Princeton. She has to kind of wait. She is kind of on the admission process into her son's life, basically. It's a good little comparison, definitely. she basically has to wait for her son to acknowledge her, basically, as the mom, and to talk to her, and she's on the waiting list. And she's okay with that. And then the movie ends. I have a little bit of an issue with the ending, kind of. With the whole, what I just said about the whole waiting list thing with the son. It just, they could have put a little more in there about maybe an end credit or something like that, or the very last scene about Portia meeting her son and learning a lesson about the whole admission thing. You know, she's on the other side of the admission process instead of being on... She's on the other side instead of, her admissions officer thing. She's the one waiting for admission. So, they could have done a little bit on that in general. It would have been better that way. I think I've got to probably penalize it for that, personally, in my own opinion. Paul Rudd's character wasn't not as established as Tina Fey's character, so that's another penalization kind of right there. I did not really like the son's character. Not really. The Portia's supposed son, that character, I didn't really like it a whole lot. It was okay, but it wasn't that great. Other than that, I think the movie was a good movie. It blended comedy and drama very well. Blended comedy and drama well. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Just a few things wrong with it. The ending could have been a little better, and all that sort of thing that I just said. But overall, 3.5 out of 5 stars. That's a good review, definitely. And that's it. D-Rock 1992 out.